Hello. Yeah, good evening everybody. You can hear me, everyone? Okay. So all of you welcome to class. So how was your weekend? Did you all enjoy?
Thank you.
Okay. So any new movies you watched? Okay, you return from physical classes. Physical classes means you're going to a gym. Is that so? Okay. So let us just resume with the class. So before we start with today's session, I would just like to MBA classes in IMG's campus. Okay. So you go and attend the physical studies classes every time. It's on every Saturday. All right. Anyone else who attends that class? Okay, Akshita. It must be an interesting thing, isn't it? Something like apart from what is there in the regular curriculum. Okay. So let us just start with this. So do you remember the consumer equilibrium discussion which we had in the last class? We discussed about one particular law which applies to consumers' behavior. What was that? Can you just tell me? Which law we discussed? I just law of diminishing dash returns. So what is that dash? Law of diminishing dash returns. What does that dash stand for? It stands for marginal. Yes, diminishing marginal. Yeah, we discussed the topic of diminishing marginal. So we discussed this topic from the point of view of the consumer, and we took which concept of utility? I think I told you that there are two measurements of utility. One is the cardinal concept and one is the ordinal measurement of utility. Can you state the difference between the two? Cardinal utility and ordinal utility? Anybody? What is the difference between these two? Cardinal and ordinal concept. Cardinal utility and ordinal utility. Lakshmi, you were not there in the previous class, so you might not be knowing it. Monachin, Akshita, Praveen, Rajiv, Nixon, Asya. You remember ordinal and marginal, ordinal and cardinal concept of utility. I just revise it for you. It might have just skipped off your mind. Sunil, welcome to class. Good evening. So we are discussing about the previous class only. So we discussed about the cardinal concept of utility, in which the utility was measured in terms of numbers like 5, 10, 15, 20 and so on. So according to that, we discussed the law of diminishing marginal utility or diminishing marginal returns for the consumer, which stated that as we consume more and more units of a product, the marginal utility which we derive from the consumption of every additional unit goes on decreasing, isn't it? And this is the law which guides a consumer in his purchasing behavior. This is the law on which he bases his decision of purchasing products. Alright. So now today we are going to study the second, or we can say the other aspect of this law. That is, yes, that is only what is there, Nixon. IMTS is mentioned there. Yeah, that is what, I haven't started with the slide yet. Okay. So, yeah, I was telling you that now today we are going to discuss about the ordinal concept of utility. Okay. Ordinal concept was the one, or rather is the one in which we rank our preferences. Okay. Suppose there is a combination of 2 burgers and 1 ice cream. And then there can be a combination of 1 burger and 3 ice creams. So I may just rank my preference. I may give importance to the combination of 2 burgers and 1 ice cream over the combination of 1 burger and 3 ice creams. And then I would say that is my first preference and this is my second preference. So this first, second, third, fourth rating, the position which we give to the various combination of goods available before us, that is the measurement of ordinal utility. Okay, or we can say that is the concept of ordinal utility of measurement, in which we give positions to the various combinations. Alright. And in diminishing marginal utility, there was one thing like, or we can say in the cardinal concept, every commodity had its own utility for the consumer. Every commodity holds some utility. But in case of ordinal concept, there is always a combination of the 2 commodities. That is why there is a comparison. We always have 2 things in one combination. It can be more than 2, but at the minimum there will be 2 things. Okay. So we'll just start with this now. So today we'll be studying about the consumer equilibrium under the indifference curve analysis. So these are the things which we are going to cover in today's topic. So far everything is clear to you all? Cardinal and ordinal concept of utility. Are you through with that? Everybody? Alright. Anyone having any doubt? Prabha is not present. Okay. Yes. So let us start with this one. So introduction to indifference curve analysis. First is the ordinal. So ordinal means it can be compared with each other, like first, second, third, etc. And ordinal utility analysis, in this utility can be compared but it cannot be measured. Okay. And this concept was given by Professor Hicks and Professor Allen. And in this whole process, the tool which we use for the analysis is known as the indifference curve. And that is why it is known as the indifference curve approach of utility analysis. Alright. So Nubar, good evening and welcome to class. We have just started with the topic. We are discussing the ordinal concept of measurement of utility. Okay. So now proceeding further, every law in economics is based on certain assumptions. Every law means even in science the laws are based on some assumptions. So in economics the assumptions are more important. So we can just see them. What are the assumptions of the indifference curve analysis? The first assumption is that the consumer is rational. He'll always have a rational approach towards purchasing decisions. Then utility is ordinal. Consistency is in choice. If A is preferred over B, then it can never be that B is preferred over A. Alright? Consumer's preference is transitive. It's transitive. You might be knowing about the law of transitivity in mathematics. It is there, which says that if A is preferred over B and B is preferred over C, then A is also preferred over C. So this is like a little complicated thing, but it's an assumption. Then the diminishing marginal substitution rate of goods is also applicable, which we discussed in that law. Dependent utility. The utility of the goods are interrelated. They are interdependent on each other. And a large bundle of goods is preferred to a small bundle. Alright. So these are the basic assumptions of the law of indifference. We can say to this indifference curve analysis. Now what is the meaning of this word indifference? What is this indifference? Anybody? Asya, Nixon, Rajiv, Lakshmi, Monachin. Okay, no idea. So indifference means when something doesn't affect you. You are not affected by something. That is the meaning of the indifference. So this is called indifference curve analysis, because indifference curve is something which we get and if we move in any direction on the indifference curve, it means we are not affected by our choice. Or rather, in simple terms, I can say that we are getting the same amount of utility from all the combinations which fall in a indifference curve. Okay. Now, how does that happen? We are going to see that only. Now, this is the explanation to the various assumptions which have been discussed. So the first is, what are the assumptions? The consumer has indifference map of good X and good Y. Okay. Good evening, Prabha and Hasanar. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? Good evening. Welcome to class. Is this your first class? Okay, now I'll proceed further. The first is that the consumer has an indifference map of good X and good Y. The consumer have a fixed money income which has to be spent on X and Y. The prices of good X and good Y are given and the goods are homogeneous in nature. Okay, these are the basic assumptions of this law. Now when we'll discuss further, we'll see each of them in it will be more clearer to us. Now what is this indifference map and what is this budget line? When we talk about the indifference curve analysis, then there are two things involved. Two types of graphs are there. One is the indifference map and the other is the budget line. Now this indifference map, it is a combination of the various indifference curves. If we plot many indifference curves on a single graph paper, then we get an indifference map. And budget line is based on the income of the consumer. Now you can see here, what is indifference map? It is a graph showing a whole set of indifference curves. So an indifference map, in other words, is comprised of a set of indifference curves. Each successive curve further from the original curve indicates a higher level of total satisfaction. So now here in this figure you can see there are two things, rice and wheat. Two commodities are there. So we can see there is indifference curve 1, 2, 3 and 4. So these are four indifference curves of the same consumer, and they are indicating his utility pattern. Like if he is taking this much of rice, going by this graph, he is taking this much of wheat. If he is taking same amount of rice and he is taking more wheat, more rice, more wheat, this way. Okay, so these are all for a single consumer only, and as the indifference curve moves away from the origin, this is the origin of the graph, like point O is the point of origin. As the curve moves away from it, he is getting more and more satisfaction. The higher the indifference curve, more is the level of satisfaction for the consumer. Clear, everyone? Okay. So now we can see it with the help of this graph. It will be more clearer with this given chart. We can see. Now, what is this budget line? The second thing that is involved in the whole analysis. The budget line or price line represents the various combination of two goods which can be purchased with a given money income and assumed prices of goods. So far we have seen that in the indifference curve analysis, like this is the second approach to the measurement of consumers' maximum satisfaction, and in the indifference curve analysis, we are going to take help of the ordinal utility, that is ranking of the preferences. And in every combination, at least two goods are involved, and the next thing that is involved is the budget line or the price line. So budget line or price line, it just represents how we are going to spend the income to get the combination of the two goods which is available before us. Okay. So now you can see over here, the income of the consumer, that is Y, is 60. 60 is his total income. The price of the biscuit is 6 for 1 unit, and for coffee also it is 12. So now, if he takes, this is combination A, which says if he takes biscuit, 10 units of biscuit, what is the cost of 1 unit of biscuit? 6 rupees. So 10 into 6, that is equal to 60. So that means whole of his income is spent on biscuit only. He is not able to purchase any coffee. So coffee is 0. Okay. Now if he takes 8 units of biscuit, 1 unit of biscuit is for 6 rupees. So 8 into 6 will be 48. And 1 unit of coffee, that is 1 into 12, that is 12. So 48 for biscuit and 12 for coffee, that again makes it 60. So now he is getting this combination of goods, that is combination B. So these are the various combinations which he can purchase with his 60 rupees in hand. Alright? And the 60 will remain fixed as it is the income of the consumer. So now we see that there are different combinations available before the consumer. A, B, C, D till F. Alright? Clear to everybody? Yes. Some are not writing yes. Are they in a doubt? Do they have any doubts in the mind? Okay. So now if you are going to plot these combinations on a graph, what we are going to get is the budget line of the consumer. Okay. So now you can see in this case combination A, biscuit is 10 and coffee is 0. So this is combination A, biscuit is 10 and coffee is 0. Okay. Combination 2, 8 units of biscuit and 1 unit of coffee. Combination C, 6 biscuits and 2 coffee. 6 6 are 36 and 12 2s are 24. So 36 plus 24 is again equal to 60. Next one, 4 biscuits and 3 coffee. 2 biscuits and 4 coffee. Okay. And in the last one, just 5 packets of coffee, no biscuit. So now, this is the budget line of the consumer. Okay. Now what is the significance of this budget line? Anyone knows that? What is its use in this analysis? What are we going to do with this budget line? Any idea? Limit. Yes, that is of course a point. It represents the limit of the consumer, the maximum amount he can spend on the various things, on the various combinations available. What else apart from this? Okay, another question. Like we see that these are the, yes, he can buy such things in his budget, Prabha. Yeah. Now these are the various combinations available before the consumer. Now how do we know which one is the best for him? How do we know that? Is there a way to find out that? How do we know that this is the best combination and this combination is going to give him the maximum satisfaction? So he should go for this one. Is there a way to decide that? Or it varies from customer to customer, individual to individual? No. What does that mean? Monichin, I didn't get that. What is that no for? Yes, Rajiv, it varies. The consumption pattern and the level of satisfaction varies. Yeah. So now, when we go on to analyze the behavior of the consumer and analyze his purchasing pattern rather, and to find out his equilibrium, we use this budget line for the purpose of analyzing that only. And how we are going to use that we will be seeing in the next one. Yeah. Yes, Prabha, I am just coming to that. Which one is the best that we can decide? So first, what does consumer's equilibrium mean? It refers to the amount of goods and services which the consumer may buy in the market given his income and given prices of goods in the market that give maximum satisfaction to the consumer. So that means equilibrium is when he is spending his money in such a way that he is getting the maximum satisfaction from his purchase. Combined promotion can be implemented. Yes, Praveen, that is there, but there's another approach to finding the equilibrium or the satisfaction maximizing level for the consumer. So aim of the consumer is to get maximum satisfaction from his money income. So given the price line or budget line and the indifference map. Now a combination of these two things is going to decide which one is the best buy for the consumer. So we have seen this is the budget line and this is the indifference curve. Now if I draw an indifference map like this for the consumer and name it indifference curve 1 maybe. So the point of maximum satisfaction for the consumer will be this point. The point at which the indifference curve is touching the budget line, or we can say the point at which the budget line is cutting the indifference curve from below. That is the point of maximum satisfaction for the consumer. Alright? Did you get it? Only Rajiv got that. No one else. Prabha. Okay. Rinan, did you get that? Sahar, Sanubar, Mohammad Saiful, Ashwin, Sunil. Yeah, I'll just explain it once again. Okay. So, I told you that when to determine the equilibrium level of the consumer, we use a combination of this budget line and the indifference curve. We have to use both of them. We cannot get the maximum level of satisfaction of the consumer just by any one of them. It has to be a combination of the two, and that combination says the point at which the indifference curve is touched by the budget line is the point of the maximum satisfaction for the consumer. If I quote it technically, it says the point at which the budget line cuts the indifference curve of the consumer from below is the point of maximum satisfaction for the consumer. As we can see in the diagram, this is the point at which the budget line is cutting the indifference curve. So we can say this is the point of maximum satisfaction for consumer. Okay, now you got it? Alright. So if we define it, we say a consumer is said to be in equilibrium at a point where the price line is touching the highest attainable indifference curve from below. Okay? The highest attainable, that is important. The highest attainable indifference curve itself means the level of maximum satisfaction. And in that, the point at which it is cutting it, that will be the point for maximum satisfaction of the consumer. So now you can see, here is a diagram in which there are three indifference curves, indifference curve 1, 2 and 3. So out of these three, which is the indifference curve which gives the maximum satisfaction to consumer? IC1, IC2 or IC3? Hello? Sureel says IC2, okay. Prabha says IC2, Monichan says IC2. Everybody says IC2. But we discussed in the very beginning that the further the indifference curve is from the origin, more is the level of satisfaction. So the most, the one that is further is IC3, isn't it? IC3 is the one that is most away from the indifference from origin. So it should be IC3, but the right answer is IC2 because IC2 is being, yes, that is the point, Nixon. IC2 is being touched by the budget line. The budget line is cutting it from below at point C. So point C is the point of maximum, is the point of equilibrium for the consumer. Okay, we can see IC1 is cutting it at 2 points. So there cannot be 2 points of satisfaction for the consumer. Then in this one, IC3, it is not at all touching it. Yes, Nixon, that is what I am telling. There cannot be 2 points of satisfaction for the consumer. And moreover, if we move in this curve, if you just look at this curve, the difference between IC1 and IC2 is this. The distance between the two of them is this. This is the gap. So the lower the curve, lower will be the level of satisfaction for the consumer, isn't it? If there are two curves like this and this, then the one which is at the highest point is going to give the maximum satisfaction, and the one which is lowest or lower will not give the same level of satisfaction. It will be, the satisfaction will always be less than what it is over here. So we have to go for the curve which is giving the maximum satisfaction, and it is being touched by the budget line also. Okay. Now this is ignored, IC3 is ignored because it is not cut by the budget line at any point. Budget line is not touching it at all. So that is the reason why IC3 cannot be the curve for maximum satisfaction. The right answer is IC2 because it is satisfying both the conditions of consumer equilibrium. Okay, and the two conditions are, he is getting the maximum satisfaction, and then the budget line is also cutting it from below. Alright. Alright. Now we go to next. Now this is first order and second order condition for consumer equilibrium. This is not so important for us, but we can still do that. Now what is this first order condition says? It says that the slope of indifference curve should be equal to the slope of the budget line. This is something technical. So that is why it's something mathematical. Just a second. Okay. So what this first order condition says is that the slope of indifference curve must be equal to the slope of the budget line. So this is mathematical. Then second order condition says that the indifference curve must be convex to the origin at the point of tangency. You understand tangency? Or if you have studied mathematics, geometry, circles and all, have you studied that topic? You know about tangent? What is tangent? Can anybody tell me? We use this term in mathematics, tangent. Yes, Prabha. Tangent. Yes, line touching the curve, Rinan, that's correct. But what is specific about tangent is that it touches at just one point. Okay, it's perpendicular to the center of curve and it touches only at one point. It cannot touch at 2 points. Yeah. So this is we can see this is a tangent to this IC2. Yeah, this line, budget line, is tangent to IC2. So that is the second order condition, which says that the indifference curve must be convex to the origin at the point of tangency. So we can see this is the point of tangency and the curve is convex. It is convex shaped. This is convex, this is concave, so this is convex shaped. So that is, it is satisfying the second condition as well. Alright. So any doubt so far? Anybody? Okay. So this is just the explanation of that we don't need to do because it's technical and mathematical. We have already discussed. Now let's see this one, which says the income effect, that is the income consumption curve, the income consumption curve of the normal good, inferior good and luxury good. This is important because we are involving the budget line into discussion, and budget line is solely based on the income of the consumer. So we now need to discuss the income consumption curve of the different types of goods. So income effect in economics can be defined as a change in the consumption resulting from a change in the real income. You understand real income? What is that? Earning, expenditure, disposable income. Okay. I said real income. Earning minus expenditure. Nixon says that. No, that's not exactly real income. Net income. No. Anyone else? Asiya, Lakshmi, Rajiv, Monachin, Praveen, Sunil. Yes, Praveen. You are very close to the right answer. That means the income adjusted with the inflation. Suppose you get a salary increase of 5%, and the inflation in the same time period, the inflation goes up by 3%. Your income goes by 5% and inflation goes by 3%. So the net increase in your income is only 2%, isn't it? Because inflation is already eating up a part of the increase in the income. So this 2 is the increase in your real income. 2% is the increase of real income. Okay? Alright? So this is the real income. So if the prices of goods, taste and preferences of the consumer remains constant and there is a change in his income, it will directly affect consumer's demand. So this effect on the purchase due to change in income is called income effect. That is an increase, but what about in whole? I didn't get that question, Nixon. Yeah, that is in whole only. Means your income is increasing by 5%. Okay, and in the income has increased over a year by 5%, and over the year the inflation has gone up by 3%. So your income, now you are spending more on what you were spending previously. Okay, so your disposable income is greater, but your real income is less. Real income is the increase in the income minus the inflation effect in the economy. Alright, in simple words I can say that. now let us see the income consumption curve of the consumer. It shows how the income effect on the quantity consumed of the good, how it affects that. So there are different types of goods that are there: normal good, inferior good. We can just have a look at all of these. So this is the curve for the first one that is given. That is the curve for a normal good. Okay, it is the normal good curve. In this, the income is increasing, and at the same time the demand is also increasing. You can see it's for a normal good. This is IC1, IC2, IC3. They all have their budget lines. This one BB dash, CC dash and DD dash. These are the budget lines. These are the points of equilibrium for the consumer, K, L and T. So if we join this K, L and T, then what we get is the income consumption curve of a normal good. So if the income consumption curve looks like this, a slanting, if it's like a straight line, if we join the equilibrium points of the consumer and we get a straight line like this one, then it is the income consumption curve. We can say it's a normal good. Alright, and if it's not so, then the good is not a normal good. It may be an inferior good. Clear to everybody? Yes, 45 degree. That is what we can say. Exactly, it's 45 degree. So if it's 45 degree, then it's a normal good, otherwise not. Now suppose it's an inferior good. Now if it's an inferior good, the curve will not appear to be a 90 degree straight line, 45 degree line. It will be something slanting like this one. If it's P1, P2, P3, P4, the income is going, but at the same time the price for the demand for the good is also going down. Now can you tell me what is an inferior good? I think I discussed with you in some of the previous class. Inferior good. Nixon, wheat, in this example the wheat is inferior good, but what is that? Yes, Rajiv. Inferior goods are those whose demand goes down if the income goes up. The cheaper goods are no longer purchased. The expensive things are preferred. That is the inferior good. So in this example, wheat is inferior. In the first example, the curve is going away from wheat. And in the second example, the rice is inferior. The second curve, you can see the curve is going away from the wheat. The income is going up, but the consumption of wheat is going down. So this is the curve of a income consumption curve for inferior goods. Nixon, demand for good proportional to income, that is for a normal good. For a inferior good, it is not so. It is reverse relationship. So this is for a we can say this is the income consumption curve for a inferior good. In this one, good X is inferior and Y is a normal good in this one. And in this one, Y is inferior and good X is normal. What you just need to know is that if the curve is not a straight one like that 45 degree, then it's an inferior good. Now if it's a luxury good, then what is the curve like? It is like this one. Good X is necessity and good Y is luxury. If I like go for plotting, good X is a necessity. So whatever the price of X may be, we have to buy it. So at this level of income, we get this much. At this level of income, we are getting this much. Rather, that's not for income, that is for another good. So you just need to know that if the curve looks like this, then it's a one good is necessity and the other good is a luxury. Okay. So we are done with this. Now I'll play a video for you, so you can just watch the video, and it is I can say it's just a revision of what we have discussed so far. Okay, so you can just watch it, and in case you have a doubt, just keep the question in your mind and ask me. Alright, shall I play the video now? Alright, so far every concept is clear to you? Okay, I'll just play it. Just a second, just a minute. I just pasted the wrong link. Just give me a minute. I'll just get the right link. One minute. I don't know what went wrong. The link is correct, but still there is some problem with the video.
Hi guys, I'm Transitive for beauty videos.
Just watch the video.
In this podcast, I'm going to talk about consumer theory. Again, consumer theory is really all about constrained buying. I'm going to introduce two topics: indifference curves and budget lines. An indifference curve looks something like this. And we plot quantity of good Y on the Y-axis and quantity of good X on the X-axis. A couple things we just need to be aware of when we talk about consumer theory, and one is the idea of transitive preferences, which means that if I prefer chicken to beans and I prefer beef to chicken, I prefer beef to beans. One thing in economics we have a hard time doing is actually putting numbers to things. I can say I prefer something more to another thing. I can say I prefer chicken more than beans, but it's hard to put an actual empirical number on that. We say that more is better, but there's also the law of diminishing marginal returns, which says, as I consume more steak, I enjoy it less. With each bite of a steak I take, I enjoy the steak less and less. We often talk about utility, and by utility I mean happiness and satisfaction. This equation is read as utility is equal to the function of x and y. Utility is a function of consumption of two products, x and y. In this case, x will be potatoes and y will be steak. I've always had a hard time just talking about products x and y. And we want to maximize utility. So, imagine you have a giant steak. A friend of yours has a giant potato. You are going to trade. How do you trade? If you have a lot of steak, then you will give up steak to get some potato. Just to be clear, this represents more, this represents less, less and more. On the y-axis we have steak, and on the x-axis we have potato. If I have a lot of steak, then I'm willing to give up steak to get some potato. In fact, I'm willing to give up, in this scenario, I'm willing to give up a lot of steak to get a little bit of potato. So in this case, obviously I'm giving up more steak and getting a little bit of potato. On the other hand, if I don't have very much steak, and I'm down here at the lower part of the curve, then I'm willing to give up a little bit of steak, but I expect to get a lot of potato. As you move down the curve, notice that you actually conserve, or you conserve the thing you have the least of. So again, on good Y, we have steak, and good X is potato, and we look at slopes of lines. And that's what measures the trade. Slope we call the marginal rate of substitution. It's a change in product Y divided by the change in product X, which is the slope of the line. In this case, it's the change in a quantity consumed of steak divided by the change in quantity consumed of potato. Indifference curves are negatively sloped. So is your relationship trade between two goods, in this case X and Y, steak and potatoes. My budget curve, it constrains my consumption. If I don't have a budget, I can consume as much as I want. So, $5 per pound of potatoes, let's make that assumption. Let's make assumption that is $10 per pound for steak. And my income is $1,000. My equation looks something like this. $5 times the quantity of potatoes I consume, and $10 times the quantity of steak I consume, and all that adds up to my total income of $1,000. What if I spend all my income on steak? Then I cross out that amount, and I have $10 times the amount of steak, which just means I can consume 100 pounds of steak. On the other hand, what if I spend all my income on potatoes? It looks something like this, and I have 200 pounds of potatoes. A lot of potatoes. So we can plot this line. If I spend all on steak, it's 100 steak. All on potatoes is 200 potatoes. I can easily calculate the slope of the line, which is -1/2. The equation of my budget line looks something like this. The price of X times the quantity of X plus the price of Y times the quantity of Y. M, we use M instead of I. So we have income is equal to price of X times the quantity of X plus the price of Y times the quantity of Y. And now we're going to solve for Y. So we subtract the price of X times the quantity of X from both sides of the equation, which gives us income minus the price of X times the quantity of X on the left-hand side, and price of Y times the quantity of Y on the right-hand side. We divide both sides by the price of Y to isolate Y, which gives us an equation like that, and eventually we have this equation here. Again, price of X times the quantity of X plus the price of Y times quantity of Y, and all this adds up to income. Now when we plot our equation and the budget line or budget curve, this is the way our equation works. The slope of the line is the ratio of the two prices. And remember that the price of the goods we're looking at is $5 and $10. And the slope should equal 1/2, which is what we calculated before. The slope of the line is the ratio of the prices. The slope changes if the price changes. So now what happens if the price of potatoes fall? What we see is it moves like that. That means you can consume more potatoes. It rotates around that axis there. You can buy more potatoes. What happens if the price of potatoes rise? You see that you can buy less potatoes, and you pivot the other way. Buy less of all potatoes. What happens if the price of steak changes? What we see is as the price of steak goes down, you can actually buy more steak. That's if the price of steak goes down. On the other hand, if the price of steak goes up, you can buy less steak. Now the next question I have is what happens if income changes? In this case, if income goes up, the entire budget line shifts out, right? Buy more of everything. If income goes down, you can buy less of everything. So you see an entire shift of the line. Income changes, entire budget line shifts. Income goes up, budget line shifts outward. Income goes down, budget line shifts inward. So in the end, we have constrained consumption, and we're going to draw a lot of indifference curves. That's called a indifference map, and we're going to have a budget line, and we're going to look at what happens when we combine these two together in our next class. But the key is going to be the slope of the indifference curve is going to equal the slope of the budget line. That's where you're going to maximize utility.
Hello? Is there a problem with the video? Praveen is not able to watch. Everyone else can see the video. Now I have stopped it. Now it is paused. Otherwise, were you able to see that? Okay. All right. So it's just like we have that what we have done that has been revised over here. So now it's all mathematical. They are discussing about slope and all that we haven't done because that is not a part of the curriculum for us. So that's fine with us. I'll just wind up the class now. So everybody, thanks for your time. Anyone is having any doubt? First, let me clarify that. Anybody, any doubts on this ordinal concept of measurement of utility of consumer? No. Okay. Praveen says no. What about others? Clear? All right. Sunil says that. All right. Yes, you need to study this. Once you are done with the laws in economics, please go through your books once. Just read them. That it's clear to you. Okay. Whatever material you have, just read it. That is what it's going to do. Is it's going to set the thing in your mind. You might the next time you are studying it, you might just revise and it will click to you. It was indifference curve analysis, Ramesh. We did today indifference curve analysis for finding the consumer's equilibrium. All right, indifference curve analysis. So everybody, thanks for your time. Thanks for attending the class. So I'll be meeting you in the next class. So till then, take good care of yourself. Have a nice sleep, and please fill the feedback form which you will be getting after the class. Okay. All right, everyone. Yes, Prabha, I agree with you. Ramesh, I'm not very sure about that. I have to look into the book and then only I can let you know. You can just consult your batchmates. They can just help you out with this. Okay. You can ask one of them. They can help you. All right. Thanks for your time. Bye. Enjoy your week ahead. And see you in the next class. Next class is tomorrow at 8 o'clock. All right. Okay then. Bye. Please fill the feedback form. Thanks. Good night.